We cool? We cool? Yeah. No. Yeah, we're cool. Kudos to Southern Violence for not holding a grudge for me wrecking the Champions Class show and all the rest of that shit. They had 130 paid at their 21 and up show. That's great. Where else are we going? I want to point this out specifically. The John Johnson Benefit Show. Great guy. People love him. It's happening September 6th at the Landmark Arena. Shadow Jackson going to make an appearance. If you don't know who the fuck Shadow Jackson is, all the people who win male performer of the year for the Georgia Wrestling History Awards, just know that there was a time where Shadow Jackson and Simon Sermon had that motherfucker on lock. Shadow Jackson charisma to beat the band. So he's going to be there. Berg's going to be there. Lots of people are going to be there. September 6th, fundraiser for John Johnson, who's going through a series of health problems that you can check out yourself if you really want to know what the story is on that. Speaking of the Landmark Arena, Anarchy took place. Had a show, 110 drawn. That's good news. AC Mack being kicked down the stairs everywhere outside of Southern Honor, and action continues as he loses a match to Jeter, which was really just a setup for Jeter putting the TV title up again against Undeniable, saying he'll take him on. Matt Hankins managing to keep the heat, boy. Impressive as hell. Lights go out, fireball. Strychnine's there, spears Jeter, takes him down, TV champion. So, as it correctly says in the report, so Strychnine is your new TV champion, but more shockingly is apparently a member of Undeniable. Okay, rant number 2. And again, my disclaimer on this, full disclosure, is no, I have not seen the explanation on why Strychnine would join Undeniable. No, of course, I haven't seen it play out. And all of these things might go really well. But it did trigger a thought in my head, which is by the numbers booking. Of course, Anarchy had a big show in the recent past. Of course, you want to give heat back to Undeniable. Of course, you want to shake things up. But the Strychnine heel turn definitely feels like something where they've done it, and now the explanation is going to come on the back end. And it's going to be a bit of mental gymnastics instead of feeling like a true evolution of what should happen. Instead, it's something that's done because it feels like the right thing to do. Now, again, I'm sure people are going to write me and say how unfair this is for me to characterize it this way. And I'm not going to pick on the specific Strychnine thing of him turning heel, except to say that it seems completely out of left field. And done just to do a thing. Now, again, this may play out effectively. I might be completely wrong. I'll own that. But I will say this seems like a move. I've often said that Bill Behrens looks at wrestling as a science, and I look at it as an art, and the truth is somewhere in between. This definitely feels like a formulaic plug-in to say, we need to shake it up, we need to give them heat back, so we're going to have one of our biggest, most beloved baby faces turn heel and join them. And it gives them credibility, and Strychnine wins the title, and we're able to go in a completely different direction and leave people wondering what. And you're supposed to do all of that with their television thing that they have online and in the terms of storylines on his show. But it does feel forced, doesn't it? It does feel like something that you're doing and justifying afterwards. And I see this all throughout wrestling. that the amount of things that develop, that feel as if they have developed and then find fruition, are in much shorter supply compared to things that happen just to make them happen. That's the end of that rant. Moving on. Viral, drawing 400 approximately. What can you say? It's impressive as shit. Viral has done very good as of late. Oh crap, this is another mini rant. Fuck me. Owen Knight getting some props from people at Viral, saying that he's so great and that, you know, the Southeast doesn't deserve him. What the fuck are we even talking about with that statement? I think it's pretty ludicrous. Owen Knight, who came to prominence at AWE, has always been featured prominently, always featured well, and now has been saddled with one of the worst fucking monikers of all time. Whatever that fucking player coach, working coach, that thing is fucking terrible. Get rid of it. God, it's fucking bad. Other than that, seemed like he's booked very prominently, and good for him. Good for Viral. They did really well. Here's the mini rant. So now for Viral, they've had 2 shows that have drawn in the range of 400. And they're very proud of that fact and have pointed it out publicly of like, yeah, look at this, Stevens Platinum or whatever the fuck, which is great. You should be proud when you draw a great crowd. But now the real work begins. Viral has had years where they have really struggled and toiled to get to this point. And now, it's a cliche, but it's the truth. And here's the hard truth. Now the hard work begins. Because now, there was a time where 400 paid or drawn probably seemed like the pipe dream. And now the truth is, it's the expectation. This is when promotions have traditionally suffered greatly. Part of success is the increased expectation. If Southern Honor, for example, draws below 400, will we not see that as a sign of weakness? When Southern Fried dipped below 300 and they still have not gotten back there as a regular thing in their regular shows, did we not see it as a faltering of that promotion? Of course we did. When Peach State, way back when, had the Jeff Hardy show and they topped out at somewhere in the 600s, I remember saying at the time, well, fuck, they're never going to get back there again, and it's going to end up being an albatross around their neck. I was absolutely correct, and they brought in people from the outside to try to get some semblance of that crowd again, and it never happened. Sometimes success is your biggest enemy. If you can't change your dynamics and rise to that new standard. Just a bit of a rant there, but congratulations to Viral, congratulations to PWX. Certainly if it's a war between the states or war between different parts of Georgia, certainly Viral and PWX carried the day. Now there was a larger crowd at the Ring of Honor show, but they're Ring of Honor. They didn't have a sellout, which is considered 750 center stage, but they did have 675. That's an undeniable success. That picture of PCO and that scar, holy fucking balls. And it was great to see some local Georgia guys getting the nod, though it was kind of sad to see Salvernaro and that tag team just basically get fucking squashed out. God, I fucking hate that shit. It reminds me of the sort of lamest days of Jacked and Metal for the WWE, where they would bring in local people to wrestle, but they had to wrestle under their real names, and I suffered from that too. We'll talk about that at another time. My fucking brief foray with the WWF. when I had to be Steven Scarborough. Holy fucking shit. Awful. Great story, though. I'll probably save that for my fucking Patreon. Another plug. I said I wasn't going to do it, yet it happened. Boy, unexpected. 675 PCO with the scar. Georgia people being present on the card and somewhat getting to shine, but for the most part getting squashed. Here's my rant. This was inspired by the PCO picture. Is, again, whenever a wrestler has a gruesome injury, the first response from wrestling people, especially dumb fucking wrestling people, is to cite that injury and to go, let's see people who say wrestling is fake now. I fucking hate that shit. When something happens that is an accident, and make no mistake about it, if you are getting injured in professional wrestling, we can argue that it's inevitable. We can argue that it's part of the game. We can argue that if you tough it out and finish the match, which PCO certainly did, that is admirable. I agree with all of that. We can argue whether the old school mentality of you should finish a match regardless of your injury, whether that's a good thing to promote or a bad thing to promote. I'm of the mind that it's a good thing to promote. Sorry, I'm fucking old school. I finished my shit too. We'll talk about that at another time. But let's just say I've been walloped in a match and couldn't remember almost anything that happened in that match from that point where I got walloped onward, but I still finished. Even though I had instincts that said I should stop, and my fucking valet was like, Steve, we should probably take this home. And I was like, fuck no, we're finishing. Yes, it's dumb, but that's part of pro wrestling's allure and charm, and having to prove that you're tough in an activity that is fake. That's all part of the dynamic and the psychology of the crazy wrestling business. However, this notion that an injury that comes as a result of something going wrong in the context of wrestling proves that wrestling isn't fake is so asinine, and one of those things that the outside world looks at wrestling and mocks and laughs. So a guy got fucked up and then somehow proves that wrestling isn't choreographed? I'm confused. Right? If an accident happens to a stunt person on a movie set, that proves that the movie is a documentary? I don't understand. And I think, again, it goes back to my thing of wrestling is very hung up on this word fake. They react to it as if it was a racial slur. And I will always contend that the key to wrestling getting over people from the outside saying you're fake and that bothering you is to embrace the fake. Two things can be true, as my friend Alex says, and you can admire the toughness of a PCO without making it part of some larger political fight about your hang-ups with how the outside world sees pro wrestling. I can only speak for myself, and I will say this. When outsiders comment on professional wrestling, it gives me a bit of reassurance. Even if it's something as crazy as Nancy Grace completely misconstruing something in pro wrestling and attempting to harm pro wrestling, I love it. Because wrestling at the end of the day is supposed to be some outlaw shit. And outlaws are not supposed to be understood or crave the understanding of the outside fucking world. And the sooner that wrestling embraces that, the better it's going to be. Yes, it's annoying when wrestling people are fucking stupid and make all of us fucking look bad. I get that. At the same time, this is not one of those times. When an injury happens, it is unfortunate, but if you use that, if you feel the need to publicly use that, someone else's fucking injury and misfortune as a platform for your fucking anger at the outside world because they don't embrace what you do, fuck, I gave that shit up a long time ago. Yeah. And I was a genuine citizen, folks, getting advanced degrees. Okay, I wasn't some fucking asshole without fucking prospects or anything like that. I chose wrestling, right? There's this notion with wrestling people that wrestling chose me. I've loved it since I was a child and blah, 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 blah. For me, yes, I was always a fan, but I chose wrestling. And I take that empowerment, I take the blame for it as well. But at the end of the day, if somebody from the fucking outside of pro wrestling goes, it's fake, I'm not gonna fucking fight him on that shit. Because the truth is, wrestling is fake. Yeah? In the sense that it is not competition. And as long as it bills itself as such and it derives heat and emotion with this notion that they want you to suspend your disbelief. We use that phrase all the time, right? We want fans, man, I miss a time where fans would just suspend their disbelief. But you know what factors into that suspension of disbelief that wrestling people are saying that they always want from the audience? This idea of escape, they're escaping, they're suspending their disbelief. I just want them to get into it without being so hypercritical. I want to get around their intellect. I want to get around their defenses and get to putting them under the ether. You know where that phrase, putting them under the ether, comes from? That's from con men, because that's what wrestling used to be. And guess what? It's what wrestling still is, because in some way, shape, or form, you want people to abandon their intellect and get into something. And there's an element of performance and con work that goes into that. Kayfabe might be dead, but kayfabe still exists in the sense that, for a while at least, kayfabe means that before the people come to the show, they believe. During the show, their belief is reinforced. And then after they leave, they believe it's real more than ever. The death of kayfabe just means before they come to the match, they know it's a show. But right before they get into the show, they still get that excitement. They lower their defenses intellectually. They get put under the ether if the show is successful. And then they leave, and they still have the emotional residue from the experience that they went through. And then hopefully they want to relive it again and again and again. Do you have a favorite movie? Yes. That favorite movie that you've probably seen time and time and time again, why do you watch it again and again and again? Is it because you think it's real? No. But the emotion that you feel, there's still some emotional residue. It may not be as powerful as the first time that you saw it. It may not be as powerful as when you had a very personal reason. Top Gun, for example. I have a connection to Top Gun because my father was a fucking military jet pilot, and seeing that movie with him in the theater and then us talking about it afterwards and him going, this part was very realistic. My dad was a fucking hellified fucking fighter pilot, by the way. I should get that fucking jacket. I might in a second. Fuck it, I'm going to get that jacket. I'll be right back.